As we start to welcome our next speakers up this evening, you want to talk about a couple of ladies that have walked by faith. I don't know them well, but in the little bit of interaction that I've had with them, very, very abundantly clear. Ann Heign and Heather Morris are joining us from International House this evening. International House is located here in Fort Wayne, Indiana, serving primarily immigrants and refugees in their day-to-day needs. And so, ladies, we are awfully excited that you're here, and if you would please join me in a large FDFW welcome.
Good evening. Let us get situated. This is who we are up there. So Fort Wayne is a city full of refugees and immigrants, and they're seeking and waiting for someone to see beyond the barriers of language and dress and cultural distinctions and see them as individuals, both with gifts and talents and the potential to impact our community, both relationally and financially. There are over 23,000 internationals living in our area. They come from places like Burma and Afghanistan and Yemen and Chad, and Somalia, and Iraq, and Venezuela, and Colombia, just to name a few. The number of forcibly displaced people in the world has increased from 42 million in 2019 to 100 million today. 1 in every 78 people in the world are forcibly displaced by war and persecution and gross violations of human rights. And these people, they're living among us here in Fort Wayne. So how can you use your time and your talents to not just make money, but invest in people, in the life of a person who, like you, was very successful in their job and took pride in providing for their family, but now finds themselves working at an entry-level job, the first place that they could get in to get a paycheck?
So Habib worked alongside American military forces. He was trained to repair and maintain Black Hawk helicopters. He grew up helping his family in a large agricultural business. He wanted to further his education, so he rode his bike for an hour one way, very early every morning to a job to help him pay for classes. And after a long day of working, he rode his bike another hour to take classes in community college. His day started before dawn and ended close to midnight every day. He had responsibilities to his father's agricultural business and to his extended family as well. He audited university classes when time allowed, and on one of these occasions, he was the only person in the classroom to attempt to solve a complicated physics equation that the professor had presented. Because he was able to solve it, and because they were so impressed with his abilities, he was given a place at the school and a scholarship, but he didn't have the time needed to commit due to all of his other responsibilities and the travel time required to attend. He eventually found his path to education through the Afghan Air Force, and he became a Black Hawk helicopter mechanic in training. Habib is here now in Fort Wayne. He was evacuated under duress during the fall of Afghanistan. He wasn't able to rescue his wife or his 3 little girls because he was stationed outside of the country when the collapse happened. They are still in Afghanistan, living marginally and without the resources and connections to be reunited with Habib here in the United States. Since arriving in Fort Wayne, he has worked steadily as a convenience market stockman, and he now works in an auto parts factory and signs up for overtime every single chance he gets, with hopes that at some point he can advance within that company and possibly use his skills of complex mechanics once again, while also trying to send as much money back to his family as possible. His English is excellent due to studying so hard on his own, as well as serving many years alongside American forces. He also speaks 3 other languages. He already outshines the average American who only speaks 1 language. Habib is intelligent, hardworking, and motivated. He also has an accent, and he sometimes wears traditional Afghan clothing. He prays 5 times a day, and he has customs and traditions that are unfamiliar to most Americans. So what do you see when you see Habib? A terrorist? A foreigner? A problem in our country? A drain on our resources? Someone who doesn't deserve to be here? Our hope is that you see a representative of the rich and diverse population of refugees and immigrants in our city, and that you see them as people to be known, not problems to be solved. Look beyond their appearance, their unfamiliar traditions, and see that many, like Habib, have education, outstanding character, and a deep desire to succeed in the country that they are now in. At International House, we have met doctors and lawyers and architects, teachers and business owners who, because they are refugees and had to flee their own country, they now have very little opportunity to use their education or expertise in America. You see, they are without the guidance and mentoring of successful North Americans to assist them.
So, how can this have a kingdom impact? How can meeting Habib impact the kingdom and impact your business as well? Talent, creativity, passion, and a sound work ethic are all attributes that our refugee and immigrant population bring to the community. A relational bridge needs to be built that will empower them and incorporate their gifts into the local community of entrepreneurs. And this will have an impact on the kingdom. When you build a relationship with someone, especially someone who has not yet been reached for Christ, God will open doors for you to hear their faith journey and for you to share yours with them as well. So how do you begin to build that relationship with people who look and speak and act differently than you do, and whose worldview is decidedly not North American? And what exactly is a worldview? Well, a worldview is the lens through which we see and interpret the messages and events around us. Our worldview informs us, our every thought and our every action. It's particular to cultures. Most immigrants and refugees come from what we call honor-shame cultures, where the language of rank, of status, of honor, and esteem are fundamental to their worldview. These are usually collective societies. Individuals will speak and act and believe in ways that bring honor to their community and avoid shame at all cost. Identity is defined by the group that you belong to, your family, your tribe, your village, your nation. Does that sound like how you get your identity or your worldview? Are you defined by your family name or the position in that family, or are you more defined by your occupation and your achievements? Would you, as a North American, feel shame and a deep sense of responsibility if your sister or even your cousin broke her marriage vows? If you got a call from your child's teacher and that told you that they've cheated on an examination and the entire class knew about it, would you be so upset about it that you would bang your head against the wall and consider withdrawing your child from that school? These are just some small examples of what it is like for someone from an honor-shame culture. So, how can we build that bridge with someone with such a different worldview? Well, North America is in the Western Hemisphere, so we say we have a Western worldview. The refugee that arrives from the Eastern Hemisphere does have that very different worldview. It's collective, where we are individualistic in the West. In the West, we ask questions like how questions. How can I do that? How can I become that? The East will ask questions like why. We in the West are very either or. In the East, they usually choose the middle way and try to maintain harmony. Even something as simple as in the West, we use the noun, more tea, where in the East, they will choose the verb, drink tea. The next few slides are going to demonstrate visually some of the differences in our worldviews. The blue side is the Western way, more our way, and the red side represents the Eastern way, maybe like China, the Middle East, Persian societies, India. This is the view of the boss. In North America, this is how we may say our boss. Kind of the same, having equal value, not too much above us, but not so much in the East. The big boss is elevated and usually in a very different social status. Many of our Afghan friends, they still refer to their new American employees as their big boss, or if they were referring to their commanding officer in the military, they always say, well, he was my big boss. This is how we see me in North America, and this is how the Eastern world views their self. I don't think that needs an explanation for that. This is how we form opinions. It looks very differently. In the East, making decisions, it may require talking to the community or the family, and we make most decisions ourselves and pretty straightforwardly. And lastly, if you have ever been overseas, this will look familiar to you, the queue. This is how lines are formed, and it has cultural distinctions for sure. This is how getting on an airplane, in an elevator, or a subway, or even walking to the counter to buy food looks in most Eastern countries. And we actually snapped this quick photo of a local Asian market when a mission team was buying food, and we noticed that even here in our own city, the Asian and halal markets can resemble the same crush of people. So building that bridge, how do we start that with someone with this different worldview? Start by delighting in the people that you meet, not as a project, not as a box to be checked, or thinking, well, I have done cross-cultural ministry because I went on a short-term trip and I visited a mosque, so I've done my part. But truly ask God to give you a heart to love the people that He puts in your sphere and to delight in the opportunity to journey with them. Create joyful memories with them, because joy building is relational, contagious, transforming, and it improves our resilience. Ask a lot of questions with the people you meet. Get to know their story and where they came from. How did they arrive here? Why are they here? And then listen well. It's the first step towards empathy. And then learn well from them as well. They have much to teach us. It's not all about us teaching them something. Daily, we learn something new at iHouse, mostly because we are asking lots of questions and we're making lots of mistakes and we're just trying to figure it out. You don't know to not eat all your food and clean your plate while sitting in the floor of a Yemen home until you actually do that, which resulted in another huge portion of food being put on your plate, because it is a sign of insult to eat all your food, that your host must not have given you enough food to eat. And don't assume that you understand their journey to North America. Each person has their own unique story, and it's like peeling an onion. As your relationship grows, you learn more and more about the hardships they encountered as they bounced from place to get here.
You also won't know what a Muslim or a Hindu or a Buddhist believes if you don't ask them. And they probably won't say more than the basics maybe of Islam if you're not friends first. Be invested in their life and in their family. Say yes to an invitation to join them in breaking the fast during Ramadan. Tag along to celebrations if you're invited. Ask questions as to why they do what they do and how they do it. And be prepared to answer for yourself. How many times a day do you pray? Do you fast? Why would you fast? Did your parents choose your spouse for you? They will be as open with you as you are willing to be with them. And give opportunities. It may not look like your typical mentoring or business associate. Remember the worldview. Some countries, there's bribes, there's saying yes when you mean no, there's a lot of different things. It will likely mean extra time and explanations, teaching something more than once, and having lots of patience. But the blessing that you could bring to someone by giving them a chance could change the trajectory of their life and also bring a richness to your own that you never expected. If you can find one person of peace that speaks English well, that could open the door to an entire community joining the workforce. The Zo Burmese community is an example. of a community that arrived through the efforts of their Zo leaders, paving the way for other refugees from Myanmar to work at factories in Bern and master spas. And the leaders of those companies, they took a chance on these honorable people, and now there's large populations working there. Did you already do it?
Nope, you're good.
So, where do you find international friends? You go to the places where they are, the ethnic stores, the restaurants. Join us at iHouse. Be willing to make an effort to seek them out. Many of our refugee and immigrant friends are used to staying within their community, where they're safe and they're known. They don't necessarily venture into all of our neighborhoods, mainly because they've not been invited. When refugees are not welcomed well and embraced by their host culture, they tend to flock to anyone that speaks their language, and they often stay there, sadly not learning more English except what they need to get by and holding fast to their traditions and customs. And we want them to keep the best parts of their culture, but we also want them to learn language. We want them to pass their own language down to their children, but learning English is so vital to success here and to transition well into our community, to be a contributor and not necessarily a consumer. But without an American friend, this could be a rough journey, sometimes nearly impossible, and it often ends in isolation.
Our refugee friends, they have the same needs that Westerners do: love, honor, acceptance, significance, being valued, and a sense of community and belonging. 1 Thessalonians 2 says, "Because we loved you so much, we were delighted to share with you not only the gospel of God, but our lives as well." The children of refugees and immigrants and their children's children, they feel the impact of investment when local Christians share their time and their talents with people who now call Fort Wayne their home.
So this is a part where you guys get to participate. So we would like you to take some time among your table to discuss these questions. We're going to give you about 5 minutes, and then we're going to click the slide, and you're going to get some more. So
Enjoy.
enjoy.